Eva, welcome to People in Legal.
Thank you for
In
inviting me.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for coming out to see us. We're in Amsterdam today. It's fantastic to. We met at Tommy Hills last year.
Yes, at Nashville.
Yes.
Did we do a little dance together or not?
Oh, geez, I tell you what, lots of beers
Probably
went.
not,
No, probably
yeah.
not. No. What a fantastic event though, Ilse was.
It's terrific. I'm very happy that we're visiting it again.
Yeah.
This year, so
It's going to be great. No,
yeah.
Fantastic.
Looking forward to it.
You've got a really interesting business.
I do. Yes.
So tell us about it.
Well, we started it in 2017 because my background is I used to be a lawyer. I used to be a practice law for almost 6 years in litigation, maritime litigation to be specific. And then I became the COO of a law firm, and I was responsible for tech, but also marketing and HR, etc. But I liked the tech part the most. There's a lot of friction, but there's also a lot to gain. So after I think about 10 years, I thought, well, do something else. And well, did some talking around with a lot of people involved. And then I met Marianne. And we started Lime 2017, legal tech consultants.
Oh, cool.
Independent, very important for us. And we're focusing on mid-size and the big firms in the Netherlands and abroad and help them adopt whatever tech they want to get on board.
It is a confusing time out there right now. The Legal Tech Talk show last week, fabulous show. But geez, there's a lot of tech around.
Immense, especially on the AI part. I think in the last 6 months, we get 5, 6, 7 new startups.
Good.
Typical Dutch startups for legal AI assistance only or legal research tool only, let alone the DMSs that are now introducing their AI modules. So there's so much to choose from, and it's so easy to get completely confused for firms. So for us, that's very interesting, of course, because then we have something to add value.
So, I mean, really what you guys do, I'm going to be really a bit blunt here. You cut through the crap. You find the best solution for them. You go out in the marketplace because you've got an immense amount of knowledge and market intelligence and experience. You actually find the products that best fit their needs.
Yes, but we do that not only by looking at the market, because we know what's there to buy, but to choose the best product. Not always it's the best product technically. You can buy a huge car, but if you only go shopping around the corner, then don't need the car with all the extras. So to choose what's actually of value for that firm, we deep dive into the firm and say, I want to speak to your junior lawyers, and I want to speak to your secretary and to the partner that's really not into tech at all. And so what is the bandwidth that we're talking about? What is the actual need? Which problem are we solving? And then make the selection, and not only saying, okay, this is everything that's available and they have this feature and they have that feature. That's, well, okay, but they can find that out themselves. But because I used to be a lawyer and I know how the processes work within a law firm, I can help them, deep dive a little bit deeper. Okay, but where are you going to use this for? Because I think at this point, a law firm tried something and then they buy a tool for a period of time or as a pilot or whatever. And they buy the tool, everybody's in the training, and then nothing happens.
Software.
Everybody tries it and they get disappointed maybe one time. And say, well, okay, let's forget it. And they just go back to their regular basis, so business as usual. So we really you have to keep paying attention to it. Okay, why aren't you using it? What do you need from the tool to make it work for you? Maybe we should contact the vendor and see if we can build some kind of workflow or agent or whatever to actually make it work for you.
And you'd have some pretty decent power advocating for that client as well to the vendor, because you've got this great reputation, you've got the great market knowledge, come very well recommended, and so you'd have a lot more power advocating for a client and what they need with the vendor versus them going to the vendor themselves, perhaps.
Maybe, but in the end, the law firms, vendors know which law firms are, a great name to add to their portfolio. On that scenario, firms can do that by themselves, but I can help firms to, cut to the crap, as you said. Okay, but is this really useful? If they're seeing a demo, everything works fantastic. So I always say, okay, but prepare your own case and see what comes out. If you add that question to the prompt, to the chat, what happens? Because they have all prepared their demos, and you have to see, okay, but what does it actually do, and is it useful? So maybe not advocating for the firms, but advocating within the firms.
Got it.
Vendors, they can tell you whatever they can have very well. I have to rephrase that. It's not that they just talking, but if they tell something, most of the time they're completely right about something, that you have to change this or you have to use it like that. People tend not to listen to vendors somehow because they're a little bit, if they're a little bit suspicious, well, you're the vendor, so you're trying to sell me something. So that way they stop listening.
Yes.
And then I come in and say, okay, but you really have to do that because he's right. You should do that. Otherwise it won't work for you. And then, so it's kind of, I'm the external one. They paid me to help them. So you better listen to me.
Yeah.
And then they tend to listen. And sometimes it's frustrating for the internal innovation manager or IT director or knowledge manager saying, okay, but I told them that for 10, 15 times. I said, yeah, well, but you're in the firm, so you're one of them. And sometimes it's easier to listen to an external party than to your own colleagues. But the vendors then on the other side, they're always a bit, okay.
It certainly would add horsepower to or power to the people within the firm to have you engaged, because I could see the knowledge that you've got in the marketplace and how you've formulated other business cases, and you've actually gone from ground up level in formulating a business case because you've done needs analysis and those sorts of things to build the case to then go and do the selection. So I could see them having a lot of value from using your services in going from everywhere from formulation of business case to selection.
Yeah, but because we always want to start with the business case.
Yeah.
That's where we start, because otherwise I'm just helping them. It's not like booking.
No.
You don't make selections. So I really have to understand. And if you really understand why, if you get a lot of people involved by interviewing them, saying, okay, what do you need? And then you make a selection based on those needs. And you can show them that in the end, you selected a tool that fit their needs, then they are the ambassadors because they are happy. So if you're already building up a community within the firm and they can expand and spread the word, and if they're enthusiastic because it works for them, then in the end it will work for others as well. And for the people that it won't work, well, just accept that.
But it's a risk game, isn't it? About at the end of the day, they're putting investment into something, expecting a return on investment. And having you involved because of your knowledge actually potentially could reduce the risk of making the wrong decision.
Yes, sometimes it's that. And also sometimes I think it's even more that they're just confused. And if they pick something, the wrong tool, or it's not a wrong tool, but it's not somehow it's not a fit, or they weren't ready for it. That's also sometimes is the case. They rather have me on the stage and they get mad at me and not on the internal colleague. So it's sometimes a bit of a cover your ass strategy can also be a reason to get somebody else involved. And we don't mind, because in the end, I'm not choosing for them. I just help them choose. But at this point, for document management or for practice management, the market is much more clear what every tool can do, what it can't. And now with all these new startups and all this new functionality, and the AI of March is totally different than the AI we have now. It's like the Legal Hub, it's expanding or updating every 2 months with, whatever more tools. So there's so much to choose from. And specifically in the Netherlands, we have now all these startups, and to be honest, there are too many. I don't think they'll all be able to survive. So you have to be honest about it. Okay, well, maybe you should just select this one now, accept the risk that maybe in the end, after 1 year, it gets acquired by a bigger company, or it's just shutting down because, well, it didn't work out somehow. But if you accept that, if you know that in advance, and you be aware of the fact that, well, maybe that's not such a bad thing, because at least you worked with it, you learned prompting skills, you know what you can do with it and for which purposes wasn't that good of a fit, and then you try something else next year. But at least don't have it contracted for 3 or 5 years, because that's not, at this moment, it's too much uncertainty in the market.
This is where your legal background comes into play, because you've actually, and COO background, because you can actually,
that's part of me.
It's fantastic. It really is, because you're actually looking out for them. What are the red flags? I mean, in terms of actually finding one of these startups or scale-ups and working with them, what are the big red flags for you in system selection?
Well, maybe not even red flags, but if you look at the websites of the tools that are now available, and they all have, this firm works with us and this firm works with us, and they're very keen on name dropping those firms, of course. And I understand why. It's very important for them. You know, if a big top 5 firm uses their product, of course, that is a huge difference. But if you compare all these sites, then you say, oh, okay, wow, I think these are all pilots because I have now one firm mentioned on all those pages. And then it appears it's just a pilot, or sometimes last week there was a pilot and it wasn't even started yet.
Oh, goodness me. How do they get away with that sort of stuff?
But I understand, you know, it's
Yeah.
most of the time young kids, I can say that.
Yeah.
You need that launching customer. So of course you mention those firms, and they are sometimes involved and give some feedback and tried the tool. But sometimes it's only 3 or 4 people within a firm of 200.
Well, you know the backstory, don't you? Because the thing is, you know the market, so you know the backstory. You know what's actually what's real and what's...
Well, at least it helps you to, okay, but what are they actually going to do with it? And sometimes I'm not always going to do that, but sometimes they say, well, according to the website, this firm is using it. Do you know? Because all those lawyers, they all know each other. So I said, do you know anybody at that firm? Oh, yeah, I know whatever name. Let's give him or her a call and see if they actually use it. Or
I love it.
Wiggle it in.
The whole buying process, it's scary, because I think to myself, if I was actually a C-level person in a law firm, you've got the partners looking, you know, at this and going like, this is an investment. We've got to do, and it's all about, like, you know, we want to see a return on investment, I think. So it could be getting a wrong thing could be a very career limiting decision.
Yeah, and the strange thing, of course, about law firms is that the fact that the return on investment is often that you did legal research and it took you 40 hours and now it's only taking you 5 hours because the tool is finished in half an hour, and then you have to, of course, do some extra checks. But then you win 35 hours, but that's not always a win because, well, you're selling your hours. All firms know that this is an issue, and of course that is a short-term policy saying, okay, but then I lose a profit but you have to, of course, think, yeah, but if I won't do that, then I lose my pitches, or I have. So in the end, on my competitive position, we need those tools, and firms are aware of it. But on the other hand, it's still, it is somehow a conflict of interest in a way. So they're not only choosing a tool because the risk of buying this tool and in the end, maybe within a year you buy another tool, that's not even a huge risk, but the risk is that you don't adjust your business model around it.
Yeah.
Because you have to think, okay, but if I can do it in 10% less time, do I still charge the same amount? Can I make it maybe a fixed price, or maybe am I scoping? So it's not only about the tool. The tool itself is not that scary. It's the DMS that's scary, you know, changing to a new DMS and then finding out that it's the wrong document management system. That's terrible. But these are like kind of add-ons, you know. A legal research tool is it's not that big of a deal. The biggest risk is that you keep on thinking, oh, what should I do? What should I do? And then just freeze and don't do anything. So I would say, okay, let's choose something. Be aware of the fact that maybe the vendor doesn't exist within a year. And if you don't want that, you have to choose some of the big guys because they're already in and you raised so much money, they'll probably survive. But if you don't do that, just choose one of the startups. The tool is probably quite good. And if it's not good enough, we'll choose something else next year. But just start. Do something. Have a pilot group. Start with 10 people and then 20 and see what happens. Parallel, think about what does this mean for my business model? Is it a rescue operation saying, okay, but if we don't do that, we're losing pitches now, for example? Well, then it's a no-brainer. If that's not the case yet, then you have to think, okay, then we have time to, well, still make it interesting, you know? Because if you're winning time and and there's no other clients waiting for your services, then
we need to get business in.
Then you have less business hours to charge, and on the other hand, you have the costs of the tool. So then it's a lose-lose. And
exactly. Yeah, and it's interesting. And I think as a consumer of legal services, and obviously from Australia, I think, I talked to my lawyer and sat down in the room one day and had the conversation and said, look, you know, really, there's a couple of things that are important to me. Number one, I want to know what my costs are going to be this year based on a scope. Give me a ballpark of what my costs are going to be. Number one. Number two is, can we pay this? Because cash flow on every sort of small businesses or small or even medium businesses, actually, it's always an issue. Can we pay this on a monthly basis, have it spread across the year, and so rather than big lumpy billings and things? And I think that's great for everyone. And also it means that the enterprise value of a law firm is greater. They've got these clients that are actually sticky.
Because they have this subscription kind of. And that's very interesting, but it's only interesting if you know, if you can scope what you can service for that for the whole year. And of course you win some, you lose some, but at least in the end you should win more than you lose, because otherwise it's not a very profitable idea. So what you see is that firms in that case got a bit of a cramp, saying, okay, but then we have to, scope it so intensely that then the client's already, okay, but now you're saying, okay, I can help you with this, but well, the most of the part is not included. So then you start on the wrong foot. So you want to be, more like a positive and service minded, but of course you have to make sure that you can do it within the budget yourself. So that's, and tools can be helpful.
Absolutely. It's like the 24/7 law firm where you actually go on there and you can resolve some of your own questions, where you can access certain documents, where you can get, where you can find the information you need without going to law firm, and the things that wouldn't necessarily cost a person's time, but it's just in making investment in these law tech tools that are available to their clients. Yep. As part of that subscription, and then actually offering the additional services, and whether they be leverage type services, you've got groups and things involved, or where you've got one-to-ones and that kind of thing. But I think there's opportunity to really build some great legal products using and plugging the right legal tools into play.
Yeah, and just really think about, okay, but what is my added value as a lawyer? And it's not about reading all kinds of documents. I'm into Netflix series of Suits at this moment with my kids.
Oh yeah.
And they're doing a lot of research, all those pages and their huge filing. Well, that's not now anymore. You can't say, okay, I'll charge you 40 hours for my junior just to go through your documents.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't charge it. But on the other hand, it has to be done by a human or by a system. I don't care, but it needs to be done. Otherwise, you can't help them. So that's kind of squeeze. And well, the good thing about the AI was that within the Netherlands, for example, it's a small legal world, and there are a few firms that they already had e-discovery and tools like that in place, but that were very expensive tools for the mid-sized firms, so they couldn't afford it. And then in M&A practice, if you as a mid-sized firm, it was very hard to compete with the larger firms because they had those tooling in place. And now with AI, some kind of e-discovery light is within their legal AI assistant.
It's amazing.
So it's breaking up the field again.
You got me on Suits. I've got to go back there for a minute, right? So would Mike Ross exist in today's world, given that we've got AI and things like that? So would his research and the other skills he's got, would he exist?
Yeah, well, he does. I have this photographic memory.
Yeah.
So the whole fun part of Suits is that they never do anything that's actually legal. It's more like negotiating and intervening in all kinds of stuff. I think the question is more like would Rachel Zane still exist? Because she's the parallel. She's the one doing the research.
Yes.
Of course, he does it well. But now I'm already in season 9 or something, so he's not doing research himself. But that is a topic that is quite a topic here. What do we do with junior lawyers?
Yeah.
If we let them use this tool, how can they know whether the tool is hallucinating or not? Yeah. Should you give them the case themselves just as a training program or whatever, or just skip that and work with AI and see what happens?
Gosh, it's a
totally different skill set that they need, and the university are not that good equipped yet. They're adjusting as well. Okay, we need to do something with it because the whole business is changed. That was rapidly evolving. Of course, we saw it coming, but nobody really could imagine what it would actually mean. And now we have these tools in place, and now we see what it means.
Yeah.
And now we have to change.
It's interesting. I qualified as an accountant actually many years ago, and basically, my training was we didn't. There were obviously the software that could calculate tax and that kind of thing. But the partner I work with, she actually made absolutely sure that I did the manual, went through the mechanics of doing the manual calculations in terms of working out what was what. And I almost think for juniors, still having that mindset of actually like stepping through the points to see what's reason, what's not, might be there's a middle ground, I guess. people can step through and know what's reasonable, what's not reasonable, versus saying, well, here we go. I'm a great prompt engineer. This is the result. Let's go with that.
Yeah. And then what? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what does it actually mean? Like, if they can step through what looks reasonable, what's in the bounds of probability versus.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about my time as a junior associate. At certain point, I just got this file and I started reading, and then at the end, remembered that I had to look something up about, because I was in maritime law. I had to see something whether a certain river was on which jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And I Googled it.
Yeah.
And then I came back to my boss saying, okay, it's yes or no. I don't know what the outcome was, but at the end, he said, I Googled it, and he was furious. Well, Google isn't a source. I'm really old. And now we have the same, but at least now with the new tools, the sources are mentioned. So you have to learn the juniors how they build up a proper question. How are they going to do their research within those tooling? It takes an analytic way of thinking. You can just not put some information in the tool and see what happens. In the end, it's the same process. You have to learn them to structure. What is the actual question? What is the area of law that we're looking into? Yeah, of course, labor law, for example, but what is the legal question that's here in place? And that's still the same thing they have to learn, but we learn it on paper, and they are actually learning it so that they can use the software. In the end, it's the same skill. They have to structure in their heads, this is important, what not, and then they ask a question and they have to deep dive. And we did that within the research tools with the snowball effect. Okay, I read something about this, and then we look for that book, and then we go further. It's the same process, but faster.
I think the elephant in the room in using AI tools is, and again, talking as a consumer of legal services, is commerciality. My lawyer that I actually engage, I mean, honestly, I don't give two hoots about what ChatGPT or whatever AI product gives it. If they can't understand the commerciality that sits around the law and how and have the bedside manner to deal with me as a client, what's the point? There's no that's the value. The value for me in a lawyer is actually how can they? Yes, there's the points of law, and yes, but before you get to that, be a guide around the commerciality about what we're actually doing. Like, let's not get to the point we've got to go to those points of law.
Yeah, you can have the law at your service saying, okay, this is you're in a position to negotiate. But if you're not in a position to negotiate because, well, the other party is bigger or has some kind of power over you, then that is your actual value as a lawyer, seeing the bigger picture, not only commercial, but also risks in the future. That's not something any tool, ChatGPT or whatever, can help you with. Okay, this is the legal field. This is where you have to, this is what you have to take into account. But the actual groundwork or seeing the bigger picture, same goes for litigation, in court. Pleading your case has so much, you win a case by the facts, not the legal, of course, the legal spectrum, and by your ability to get that message across the table and to be, how do you call it, that you can convince people that this is the actual case. Now, we don't have jury system, but also the judge, you have to convince them this is the bigger picture. So there is your added value, not in doing legal research. And we had that with contracting as well. We used to pay for a labor law contract. Now we don't pay for it. We just get a template, and then we ask and we call the lawyer and say, okay, this is the template. Is there something, my business? Is there something
exactly
to take into account? Maybe tweak something, or this is a risk for me. So that is the added value, and it is only 10% maybe of the total, but it does make the difference.
And I think the point that where I'm going to with this is because you actually know how law firms work, and you've been a lawyer, and you know how law firms work, and you've been an executive, etc., in law firms. You know about not just this point functionality. You know how they've got to actually work with their clients, and the kinds of expectations that people like me have got around the services you provide. So therefore, you'll actually mold the tools, and when you're doing selection, you'll think about those other things that come into play with those law firms.
Yeah, well, yes, and what I often see is that I get in for the tech, sometimes DMS, sometimes AI, whatever is in place. But as I'm Dutch and always very forward, I'll just start punching other issues as well, topics, because I see it, because I used to be the COO, so I'm taking the bigger picture. Sometimes after selection, they call and say, okay, you said something about our ratio lawyers versus support staff. Can you help us with that as well? It's nothing to do with the tech, and say, well, I can help you with it. Now you have new tech in place, you can work more efficiency, but now you have to, well, you have to remodel maybe your model and let your secretaries do other kinds of work. So yes, as soon as I'm within a firm, then you talk with them and well, then you talk about different topics, not only tech. And sometimes after a few hours or a few weeks, they find out, oh, you're much broader. Maybe let's chit chat around on this topic. And then you are much more than a business consultant or a tech consultant. You start being a business consultant in the full spectrum.
Which is, I think, what you kind of got. You kind of need to actually put a solution together for people. I mean, if you're looking at point solutions, this redlining tool versus this redlining tool. Well, actually, let's just move up a little bit and actually, like, what are you trying to achieve? What's your business going through? And let's just figure out what the best tool for you is in context of where your business is going.
Yeah, and then maybe redlining is that kind of end solution, point solution that doesn't really affect your total business, whether you use Litera or Word or whatever. The deeper the software is in the whole firm, then it's sometimes even with a DMS, it's of course DMS, whether or not you want a portal to, do you want to collaborate with your clients?
Yeah.
Or no? Do you want the matter intake to be some kind of automated? Some firms say, no, we don't want that because we are famous for our personal approach.
Fantastic.
Then you don't need this super fancy automatic matter intake because that's not then for you. So let's discuss that. And that has a huge impact. But also, if you buy this document management system, is the support, marketing, HR, are they going to use that, or just do you keep them just on SharePoint because they like it and they never use it? But if they're going to use it, then you have to think about the folder structure, because it's totally different for a lawyer than for marketing.
Exactly.
So that's why sometimes I think it helps that I have this broader perspective.
Absolutely.
And share some light on other issues as well that might be.
Yeah, I totally see that. I mean, I think, so we chatted earlier about you've got a very, very interesting and like one of the market leading tools in terms of actually finding out like solutions, I think, in the Dutch and Nordic markets. You've got to compare the market type tool.
Yeah, it's when we started with Lime in the first months, we visited so many firms and every time we got exactly the same questions. Okay, what's the difference between an all-in-one and best of breed? What is the difference between tool A and B? And then we had to explain that they were not comparable at all. So at a certain point, we were driving back in the car and said, okay, this is taking too much time. And always the same questions. We have to build some kind of overview for them that they can, if they don't know what to choose, then they can just add functionalities saying, okay, I need this, I need that. And then the tools that have that in place pop out. So we said, okay, we should buy some kind of comparison tool. And that's why we started the IT Kieswijzer.
I won't try and pronounce that. I'll probably stuff that up totally.
And they can make comparisons and have an overview saying, okay, I need these tools. And then you have them in line with, with checks whether a certain functionality is applicable or not, or if it's suitable for small firms or larger firms, if it's Dutch or not. Then it's a good starting point for firms just to see what is around. And then some firms say, okay, thank you, now I know what to choose from. And others say, okay, but now I know there's a lot to choose from. Well, in that case.
Well, I guess it's a starting point. I mean, the next point is really from point of view of, pick up the phone or email you and actually just chat through maybe what the results are and that sort of stuff. I'm sure you have lots and lots of great knowledge you can share with these guys.
Yes, and sometimes it's quite easy to give some kind of kickstart. So most of the time we say, if people approach us saying, okay, I checked the IT Kieswijzer and I'm still a bit confused, or I think this is the right path, can we have a small chat? We say, okay, we'll just do some kind of introduction session. It's for free. It's just, we get to meet each other and I'll tell you a little bit about what you should be aware of. Most of the times are the smaller firms, and then you help them explaining what is the difference between a remote desktop solution and the cloud. They have no idea, and that then if they pick this solution, then they need to go to the cloud first, for example, or maybe it's not necessary, but it works much better that way. So and then we just give them a kickstart, and lots of them are just saying, okay, now I know, and we'll take it from here. And other firms say, okay, can you help us? And let's get on board. Of course, it depends on the firm size as well and the budget.
Amazing discussion. One last question, fun question. Favorite character in Suits and why?
Well, of course, I have to say Donna.
Popular choice, actually. And why?
Because in the end, you can't get around her. She knows everything.
She does.
She's always way ahead of you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Power woman.
absolutely. Eva, thank you so much for your time today. Amazing discussion. Thank you.
Very nice talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.